I looked at the nameplate. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Councilman, how you doing?
Fine. How you guys doing?
All right.
Yes, good evening. Is that different? Okay, good evening. I just simply turned the volume down. On the, is that better? Okay, excellent.
It turns out, I don't think the book ordinance is going to pass tonight. Something else wrong with it. Isn't that fun? That's from Adele. And they have a new lady there. And I'm like, yes, throw it in.
Hey, Vanessa. Oh, we never signed up for the budget. Wow.
Thank you. Yep. He did a good job though putting it all together.
Yeah, but I think it's great.
It's interesting.
Huh?
We'll see what happens.
Wow. No, have you had a chance to get any feedback? People who might have been affected by it?
Well, no, we're not developers. No, but we have talked to the members of the council and the current mayor, and that's income of the benefit that they get.
Benefit of the value benefit.
Right. Yeah.
Benefit value.
Right.
Oh.
So if they get,
Now, what about these other ones? They just pure, just a full bore of, whether it's a lot or a little?
I think we had some levels in there. If it's not, it's more than 500,000. Yeah, we had
Numbers, yeah.
Is this going to go to finance? Is this going to go to?
Ways and Means, but I'm not the president. I said I think Ways and Means, but I don't know.
They're gonna go to finance.
Finance.
Hey. How are you, guys?
Good, man.
Do this thing.
Like you're nice and warm over there. You look like you're nice and warm.
Yeah. I guess we're going to meet again. Which is kind of good for me. I've got stuff. They said there's something else wrong
How you doing? Hey, did you get a call? It is cold. How you doing, Jan? Did you get a call from Toast about tomorrow? Are you gonna go?
I said I would, but what time is it? 5?
5
I
o'clock.
gotta get to my class. I'm missing it tonight. They didn't do it Monday, they did it tonight. But I signed in, but I can run in there. I can run.
Okay.
Yeah, I told him, because he had left a couple messages when I found him.
We're going to take about 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. Everybody, that's 6. 2 minutes.
Give me more than 2 minutes, sir, please. Okay.
Yeah, we did. I didn't like work either.
Okay.
And you make sense tonight.
You want to do it now?
I did.
It's the dog.
One guy saw I went in, they had 2 packs. I went in another one.
Thank you.
So he party, they had 4, and I grabbed all 4 packs.
Oh, thank you very much.
Everything I did. I couldn't really share these things. But anyway, I got it.
State representative, that's Reagan spot.
How are you?
And I like it's all rounded out. Real, you know, because I'm so disappointed that they're not going back. I can't get it to fresh air. Isn't that fun?
Sure to say hi to her for me as well. Okay, thank you. In Atlanta. For my brother's house.
She gets me every time.
Okay, everybody, ready to get started? After 6.
Well, be sure to tell her I said hi.
I ain't got over there yet. I ain't looked at nothing. I never did. I was supposed to print it.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Gary Common Council, November 12, 2019, within the 6 p.m. hour. I will ask everyone, if you can, please stand for the prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we come to give the God whose power exceeds all power, the God who controls all that He created. Thank you for another day of your goodness and of your mercy. This is a day that you have made, and we realize that only by your grace and mercy do we yet have life and a reasonable portion of our health and strength. Thank you for this hour to attend the business of this city. Bless every mind and every heart that matters for progress will be discussed and agreed upon. May your spirit be felt throughout this assembly. We come before you with faithful and fervent prayer, realizing that you are the true and living God who watches over our souls and over this city. Send your blessings of healing, mercy, comfort, restoration upon all the sick and upon the bereaved and upon those who are homeless. And we're going to be mighty careful to give you all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory. In the mighty and gracious name of Jesus the Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for our prayer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Present.
Councilman Brown, Councilwoman Caldwell. Here. Councilman Proko. Here. Councilwoman Rogers. Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade.
Here.
Councilwoman Wyatt.
Present.
And President Brewer.
Here.
Mr. President, vote is 7-0.
Vote of 7 to
Sorry,
0.
7 present, 2 absent.
With 7 present and 2 absent, we do have a quorum to conduct the business of the city of Gary. Council pending ordinance and resolution. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
Mr. President, I move that the minutes from our previous meeting be adopted.
Been moved properly second by Councilman Smith. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell. Yes. Councilman Proko.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt.
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 7-0.
Vote of 7 to 0. Our minutes from our previous meeting has been adopted and so ordered. Council pending ordinance and resolution on first reading.
CPO 2019-64, an ordinance establishing a new fund and department for Lake County fetal infant mortality review grant, sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Andrew Hayes, City Controller, Reese Radney, Northwest Healthy Start.
Finance.
CPO 2019-65, an ordinance establishing a community benefits agreement, sponsored by Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman of the First District.
Finance.
Mr. President, ends the signing of pending ordinances and resolutions.
We have one that's going to be added to the agenda at this time.
Mr. President, I would like to move that resolution 2019-09 be added to the agenda for tonight.
Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Brown to add CPR 2019-09. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell. Yes. Councilman Proko.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt.
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 7 yes, 0.
Vote of 7 yes, 0 no. CPR 2019-09 has been added to our agenda.
CPR 2019-09, a resolution by the Gary Common Council in regard to the Gary Community School Corporation, sponsored by Melita Sparks Wade, member of the Gary Common Council.
Finance.
Mr. President, that ends the signing of pending ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Brown, they're all yours.
Council, thank you. Mr. Council The Finance Committee has before it CPO 2019-64. For the record, I approve this ordinance for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2019-64 for reporting out to the council. Finance Committee has before it CPO 2019-65. For the record, I approve this ordinance for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2019-65 for reporting out to the council. The Finance Committee has before it CPR 2019-09. For the record, I approve this resolution for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Caldwell
Yes.
and Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Mr. President, a majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPR 2019-09 for reporting out to the council. Mr. President, the Finance Committee would like to report out CPO 2019-64, 65, and CPR 2019-09.
Thank you. Special select. This time,
Mr. President,
Councilman Brown.
the city has received some donations, so I need to make a motion to accept those donations.
Yes.
The city has received the following donations: $500 from Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Manhood Foundation to be used to purchase general operating and baby supplies at the Rainbow Shelter. $200 from 20th Century Missionary Baptist Church to be used to purchase general operating supplies at the Rainbow Shelter. And $100 from Agape Tabernacle to be used as needed for the city's police department. So my motion, Mr. President, is that we accept these donations.
Second by Councilwoman Caldwell. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Rocco. Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Ray.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt.
Yes.
And President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
7 yes, 0 no. The donation that was outlined by Councilwoman Brown has been passed and so ordered. At this time, special select.
Mr. President,
Councilman Smith.
I would like to take this time to recognize and positively honor Mr. John Grisby. Okay, and what we have here tonight is his family, the Grisby family, seated over there. Can you all hear me?
No.
Okay. I know. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody turn me up. Okay, how's that? Okay, let's start over. I'd like to recognize the Grisby family and posthumously honor Mr. John Grisby. First of all, I would like for the Grisby family to stand up.
Okay.
Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your family. Thank you for Mr. Grisby. And I'll start with reading the citation, which tells the story about Mr. Grisby. Whereas John Grisby was born January 8th, 1924 in Athens, Alabama, to Harrison and Rosie Grisby, later Hassan and Rashida Shakir, Grisby moved from Alabama to Gary at a young age. He finished his education and went to work in the Youngstown sheet mill in Gary to help his parents and siblings. And whereas from 1968 to 1988, Grisby served the city of Gary tirelessly and with love, and one of the first black precinct committeemen in Gary's 3rd District, Precinct 8. He served as general foreman for the Department of Streets and Sanitation and was also the maintenance supervisor for general services from 1979 to 1981. He served as director of the city's landfill department, and whereas from 1975 to 1988, Grisby helped organize Friends of Katy Hall, campaigns for the office of city clerk and congresswoman. Grisby assisted Ms. Hall with the historical signing of Martin Luther King National Holiday into law. Grisby and his wife set up headquarters at Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church and held meetings to address the concerns of citizens of Gary and the people in his precinct. He hosted many parties to help with campaigns. And whereas in 1982, Grisby became the recipient of the Jesse Fitzgerald Award for Community Service during Mayor Hatcher's Evening to Remember Gala. And whereas the city of Gary's history of racial segregation and inequality was much like the rest of America, nonetheless, Grisby had a vision that the city could elect the first black mayor. He knew Richard Hatcher as a lawyer and city council member at the time, so he decided to have a chat with him. It looked to him like the time was right, and Hatcher was the right man for the city and the people. As the story goes, as told on several occasions by Mayor Hatcher, Grisby would go out door to door, unbeknownst to him, to gather signatures from the people of Gary to identify who were in support of Hatcher running for mayor. Grisby took the notebooks with the signatures to Hatcher and convinced him to run. And he did, and the rest is history. So we stand on real tall shoulders here. Whereas on January 22nd, 1988, John Grisby's life came to a tragic ending. Although Mr. John Grisby has been removed from his earthly labor, his kind spirit will be greatly felt by all who knew and loved him dearly in the 3rd District and in the city of Gary. And now, therefore, let it be known that Herbert Smith, Councilman at Large, and the members of the Gary Common Council do hereby posthumously honor and celebrate the life and accomplishments of John Grisby for his contributions and dedicated community involvement in the city of Gary. And be it further known that we honor him with the fitting distinction, respect, responsibility, sacrifice. In testimony whereof, I have hereto set my hand to this document in the city of Gary, state of Indiana, this 12th day of November 2019, Herbert Smith Jr. What I'd like to do right now is present this citation to his wife and family, the Grisby family. We're standing on tall shoulders. Without Mr. Grisby, there would be no Mayor Hatcher.
Amen. That's right.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
All right. Oh,
Thank you, City Council.
thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
If the family would like to have any remarks, Councilman Smith, if the family would like to have any remarks, you can have some remarks. I will leave that space for you. If the family would like to have any remarks.
Here, did the family want to have?
I get just an excited baby.
I'd just like to address the city council and people of Gary. Hi, I'm Mr. Grigsby's oldest daughter. My name is Kim Mazel. I live in London, England, and I'm a proud Garyite. I come home all the time and work in the community, teach part-time at Aspire, and I tell people all over the world how great Gary is. And I just want to thank you guys so much for honoring my dad. It's been a long road for me. It's taken me a very long time to do this type of thing because of the pain from such a tragic event. But I thank everybody, and God bless you. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you,
President, I would like to add a few voices to I was right with him when he was doing all that, getting the signatures. He was going door to door, but I was working at the good corner and I was a barber. So you know I got quite a few signatures there myself. Anyway, all of it was hard work and dedication. That was his portion of knowing what this city could be, and it was. Thanks to him, and thank you all for the honor that you give. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm the middle daughter, Carla Grigsby. Well, my name is now Carla McVeigh. That's my married name. But I would also like to thank the council and add one thing. My father did work very, very hard and loved the city very much. But one thing that he always said and he always taught us, which was the last words I think that were written in the proclamation, is whatever you do it with respect, responsibility, and sacrifice. And he not only said those words to us, but he lived by it. And he was the best example that I could have ever had in my life. So I thank you guys also. Thank you, Jason.
This is he's named after my dad, John Grigsby. So John Grigsby, go on and say something.
My name is John Grigsby. I named after my uncle. Sadly, I didn't meet him because the year that he passed away, that's the year I was born later on. So I just want to say thank you for honoring my uncle, John Grigsby. Thank you.
My name is Jerome Grigsby, and as my son said, I named him after my uncle because I love my uncle, and he was a great man, and I respected him, and he treated me like I was his own son, which I'm his nephew, his oldest nephew, and I remember all the good things that he did, just like my cousin mentioned and everything, and he was, and to me still is, a great man. And I loved him very much. And if all of y'all have met him, you have known that he was a very loving man and that he was the type of person that did what he said he gonna do and did and said what he gonna do, he did it. And I just thank you all for honoring him.
Hello, good afternoon, City Council. I am a young brother, 10 years younger than he is, and he was also the one that got me hired in the mill. He was a hard worker. They respect him very, very much out there. He would go in the, they call that the coke plant, but he helped people do different things, you know, because they were kind of not motivated the way that they should do because they were black people, you know. Like when I got hired in there, they had one black foreman. He got the foreman, the black boy said, I ain't gonna work for you. I said, you're the one, that's the one you working for the hardest. So they finally got one, you know. But John was always a hard worker, fine man, you know. And when he put his mind to something, he got it done. Yeah, I believe I might have got a couple of names for him, you know, because I was hard here. But he said step up, I'll step up, you know, because, you know. Even behind that, you know, my older sister got involved, you know, so that gal could never raise that boy. They come up with them flags on the table, like one of her objectives, done by Mayor Clay. Oh, thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to be appreciated by some people that are really running the city on a good way to do something better. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smith.
Thank you.
Truly, that was definitely noted. Great man that deserves so much and contributes so much to our community. Yes. Madam Mayor?
Mr. President, I just wanted to add my voice in congratulations to the Grigsby family. I also wanted to note that there is a street naming petition pending
so that we can honor him with something that is certainly permanent and public. And we are solely in support of that.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. President, I vaguely remember Mr. Grigsby from a long time ago, but Mrs. Grigsby used to walk on the track with us at Tolleson. So I remember her from Tolleson, and Arlenza is a vice committeeman in my district, so I know some of you from the 3rd District. So I, too, am very proud that you've been honored today. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay.
Special and select at this time. Any council member?
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
The Gary Commission on the Social Status of Black Males would like to present the Central Park 5. Join us for a select viewing of the film and a discussion of issues related to citizens' rights and interaction with law enforcement. This will be Tuesday, December the 3rd at 5 p.m. in the IUN Northwest Berglund Auditorium, 3400 Broadway in Gary. Also, boards and commissions has a couple of vacancies. The Board of Zoning Appeals and the Advisory Commission for the Status of Black Males. All interested should send a letter of interest along with a resume, and it should be in the office no later than Friday, November the 29th, 2019. And you can send your letters to the Gary Common Council, 401 Broadway, Suite 103, Gary, Indiana, 46402. Attention, Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell, boards and commissions. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Brown.
I would like to take this opportunity first to extend my sincerest condolences to the Borders family, Mr. Herman Borders, and we all know who Mr. Borders was because he would always honor the older people at his church. He belonged to First Baptist Church, and he would ask the council to come out and honor the older people at his church. So Mr. Borders passed away, and his funeral service will be Thursday at First Baptist Church. So I want to extend my sincerest condolences to the entire Borders family. And I wanted to mention that I had an opportunity to go to Popcorn World. Popcorn World is in my district. And Nina, and many of you remember Nina. Nina used to work here for the city. And I understand that Nina is part owner of Popcorn World. So I just wanted to tell you that I've been there. The popcorn's good. So, you know, give them a little action. Go in and see Popcorn World on 25th Avenue, there by County Market Grocery Store. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Wade.
and I was there too at Popcorn World's grand opening with Councilwoman Brown and
Yeah.
Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell, and I got me some of their cheese-covered caramel corn, and so, I mean, they got 250 flavors, so, you know,
Right.
take your pick. And Nina and I serve on the West Side PTA together, so I was extremely excited that that they were opening a business, Gary-owned, Black-owned, and right here in the city of Gary. So please, please support them. And secondly, Mr. President, I'm going to ask Paul from Air Filter Heating and Cooling to come up. Would you please? We've been discussing the railroad crossing closures in the Glen Park area, and I was totally unaware. We talked about this about a month ago. I was totally unaware that they were actually permanently closing. Just woke up one day, got ready to turn on to Kentucky, there were the barriers. And then a constituent, well, I've been getting calls from many constituents, but a constituent came and told me that it was going to be permanent. And I was like, nah, they wouldn't do that. You know, they wouldn't close in my district and not invite me to the meeting. But that's what happened. And so I spoke with, and she just walked in, Ms. LeBroy, and sure enough, they had been in communication with the railroad, and they were initially going to close 9 crossings, and then they decided to close 5 instead. My problem with this is that there was no public input from the people who live in that area, from the people that work in that area, from people who have businesses in the area. And the problem is we closed Kentucky Street and Delaware, 41st and Delaware. So you can't get to the south side of Glen Park from Delaware Street anymore. 41st, it cuts off. And then what happens is, on 41st Avenue, coming from the east side, you can't reach Broadway. And the biggest problem is 40th Avenue East is the worst street in the city of Gary. Then 42nd Avenue East is a one-way street. So the inconvenience could have been different had there been that input from people who live in the area and who travel in that area. So Paul gave me a call, and Paul's business is on the west side of Broadway. So they've closed Adams Street, Madison Street, and Monroe Street. And I'm going to let Paul, who owns a business in that area, speak and give some input at this time.
Thank you. My dad started a business 74 years ago, so we've been in Gary a long time. And we're a mechanical contractor, heating, air conditioning, and we do a considerable amount of work in Chicago, where we get some large equipment into our business. Now the street is closed just north of our business at the tracks, which the traffic from 8094 would come in on 40th Avenue, cut across the tracks, and be at our place. Now I don't know how I'm going to get these semis into my business to operate. Just this morning, I was on my way in about 6:30, and an ambulance was turning around on Monroe. He turned around on Monroe, so I decided to follow him. I followed him down to Washington. He crossed Washington, went to 40th, went back to Madison Street, and was at, I believe, 3945 Madison. So the security and the life safety people don't know about this either. It's a big problem for us. If you think about it, if they ever close Broadway and they do service Broadway, should somebody get hit by a train and the train stop and block Broadway, how are they going to get south on south of the city? I mean, if they were to leave Adams Street open, I'm not just plugging it because it's my street, but you would have Washington going north, Adams going south. And for the number of years that I've personally been there, when they do work on Broadway, that's exactly what happens. They detour the traffic to Adams or Washington. They closed Virginia Street years ago, so going from Broadway, you'd have to go all the way to Georgia on the east side of the city. On the west side of the city, you'd have to go all the way to Jackson to go south. So it is a problem going south. Another problem is the water towers are blocking the street, so there's not a way to open it. And I've been talking with the railroad myself, and they said that it's been approved by the city, so there's really nothing they can do. And I said, well, you know, we should try to catch this before the
Thank you so much, Paul. I did have a conversation earlier with Councilwoman Wyatt, but if the mayor would respond, because she wasn't at the meeting that I had brought this up a few weeks ago at this point. It was about a month or so ago. She wasn't at the meeting, and I would like for the mayor to respond, and then depending upon what her response is, I'd like to make a motion.
Good evening again, Mr. President, members of the council. This matter, the closing of the railroads has been pending for over 3 years. And there was a meeting that was held that invited the council members in the districts that were impacted. And that was held probably about 3 years ago when it was first brought to us by Norfolk Southern. Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell actually attended. Subsequent to that, we had a walk-around in the districts with police and with fire. And when it first was raised, and this is a part of a national issue relative to at-grade crossings that have impacted our city, but they presented some safety information regarding the at-grade crossings, and Clotilda's right. There was a request initially to close 9. After the walk-around, it was settled that there would be, I believe, 5 or 6 closures, and the closures that have been identified have been made. It went before the Board of Works, and so it was done in a very public process. I will acknowledge that there were not any public meetings held in terms of getting input, but again, we did go to the sites with the public safety personnel to see it. Additionally, there is, for each closure, there was a dollar amount that was provided by Norfolk Southern that we have been using to remediate the area, remediate some of the blight in the area. We are aware of the issue on Adams Street, and there are 2 things that I would suggest. One is that Adams Street will be 2-way. The second is that there is right now, the engineer, the city's engineer, is working to come up with a permanent solution. So that is where we are. This isn't something that was sprung on anyone. I will say that once the Board of Works passed it, they did move fairly quickly to complete the closures, and I think that's an aspect of it that was quicker than I think anybody anticipated. But as it relates to the closures, that was something that was done methodically and in consultation with those that have the expertise, largely public safety, and the engineers that work for the city.
Okay, so, Mr. President, thank you for my indulgence at this point. And if I missed a meeting 3 years ago, please, public, forgive me. But again, with Board of Works, like you said, moving so quickly, the letters that were distributed to businesses and homes in that area after the closures had already begun. And although I don't live on the railroad, I didn't even get a letter. I would have thought that everybody in the district would have received a letter, but I didn't even get a letter from the city as a resident that will be affected. I'd spoken briefly with Councilwoman Wyatt earlier today in regards to possibly doing an injunction to prevent a couple of the crossings simply because of the impact that it will have on residents in the area, regardless of whether or not people were invited to meetings, regardless of whether or not there was a public meeting. The public had no chance to give input. And when you make a closing like this, when you make decisions like this is when the public wants to know. And it's difficult to say, well, it's too late, we've already gotten the money, we can't do anything about it. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So I would like for Councilwoman Wyatt, if she would, to expound upon it.
Well, would you like for me to propose a motion? Or are you willing to do that? I guess my concern is that it is true that the executive branch, the administration, is the branch of the government that makes, makes contracts and makes these deals, and it is true that that was followed in the executive branch. There is a requirement under our ordinance that we get required reports from the Board of Public Works. We have never gotten those reports, so we don't, it's like it operates on a separate level, so we don't really know what the Board of Works is doing unless we attend. And my concern is that because the closures have an impact on the potential impact on the property taxes here in the city, because we may have businesses who have to close up because they can't get their supplies into their business, then I think that it's possible that the council would have standing to file a motion for injunction to stop any further work until we can get this sorted out.
Let me just be very clear. We followed the requirements from the city ordinance to a letter. If we are forced to defend a frivolous lawsuit, we're going to be looking for fees from the individuals that initiated this.
And I just want to add also, Mayor, and to the council members, there was also a planning commission meeting on this too, where that was a public meeting where this was discussed also.
And then did it come to the planning committee of the council?
No. Now, that was kind of sort of my problem. Something of this magnitude did not require to come before the council. So what my only suggestion would be to add, if any type of closure, street closure, especially railroads as we're talking about now, that we make an ordinance that those type of things have to come before the council for final approval. That would just be my only suggestion.
Well, I don't doubt that the administration followed the proper procedures. That was not my point.
Okay.
And,
well,
and neither was it, I'm sorry.
No, and I do understand your concerns about the streets being closed, but I do know there was a number of 9 closures that was in effect, and I was happy to see they reduced it down to, I believe, 5 out of that 9 that got closed. I thought that was kind of strenuous at once, you're closing that many. But I was happy to see, and I understand that it's a safety issue with so many crossings in the Glen Park area along that route there. There is a lot of crossings there, and it was more or less a safety issue at the same time.
Mr. President, again, and neither did I want to imply that the city did not follow proper protocol. However, I've attended meetings during the daytime, Board of Works is at 10 o'clock in the morning, where there was an issue that directly affected my district that where I needed to be present. Not just for my district, but other districts and other constituents when they asked me to attend, whether it be a planning commission meeting or a Board of Works meeting or any other meetings that I can get to. But this issue is not going to go away anytime soon, and I would like to do everything that we possibly can so that we don't lose businesses like Paul's Air Heating and Cooling that's been in the area for 74 years, or have to turn around an ambulance, because if you run into a problem like this morning where the ambulance had to turn around and someone dies as a result of the lack of communication and the tardiness, the inability for the city to have given notice to the ambulances. When I spoke with Deputy Chief of the police department, he indicated that he didn't have any knowledge, but he had not yet spoken to Chief Allen. So everybody, there is a problem with communication, and the communication was not disseminated properly. And I don't, I would hate to take a vote and don't get it, but I would like to be able to discuss this with the council so that we can move on this quickly if we do decide to go ahead and make a motion for an injunction. So, and maybe we can discuss it at the next finance meeting on Tuesday, or whenever the next finance meeting comes about, because that's why we have that line item for professional services. This would be one of those reasons that we would then consult with the proper attorney.
Mr. President.
Councilman Smith.
Got my name. You gotta think about it. Okay, I guess the million-dollar question here is it too late to do anything? Is there something that can be done? You got a business sitting there that's been there 74 years, and I'm listening to all the comments, without laying blame on anyone, just trying to find a solution. Is there any way that we can help a business remain viable in the city of Gary? And that's my question. That's
Councilman Smith, we are working with that business.
Okay.
So that, I just want to be clear on that, to address their concerns relative to the route in and out of the business. The engineers are currently working on a plan.
Okay, and I guess that's pretty good, to know that you're just not being cast away, and it's being looked at. So will we have,
We will report back next week. At the next meeting.
All right. I think that's fair. What do you think?
I'm still a little concerned about police presence in the area. I drive down that street. We're open from 5 in the morning till 5 at night. My partner opens and I close. And then the employees have to park on the street and snow plow. Another issue, we have to have a lot of plow. And our alley's in pretty bad shape, so they won't plow our alley anymore because they hit the sewer lids. We do that with snow. Those are a couple other concerns. There's our street there, our street on Adams Street is a pretty good street. I mean, I think we got one empty house on the whole street. And Madison Street doesn't have any houses. So I can see closed doors, but somebody should have took a look and, hey, how are we gonna get across the Broadway? If they put a closed Broadway, and being there for a long time, there used to be a train station across the street, and Lombard Lumber was there, and Mark's Grocery Store used to be on the corner, and then there was also a church. So I've been around a while. And the area is actually zoned light industrial.
So I think it's fair that the mayor has indicated that they're looking into it and will report back to us by the next.
I think an email from the railroad from the city was saying, hey, let's leave the switchgear in Adams Street. We're thinking about doing something else. Because once they pull it out, it's going to cost them. It's going
Well, let's see if we can have Mayor says she will make sure we have some type of resolution and report out to us by our next meeting. Our next meeting will take place next Tuesday, so we don't have like a 2 or 3 week span out. So if we can wait till next Tuesday and see, get administration time to get out with it. I will ask that from the council.
And we'll make sure that we send an email to the railroad. They still haven't.
Switchgear out yesterday, they were picking up the asphalt. I go out and talk to them guys and I tell them, you guys keep on doing this, I'm just gonna have you arrested.
Okay, and I still haven't spoken directly with the gentleman that I'm supposed to be speaking with from the railroad, so we'll continue that process as well. Okay.
You'll find out the railroad is very difficult to deal with. Yeah.
Mr. President, I just want to make sure that if any member of the council contacts the railroad, that they make it clear that they are calling on behalf of themselves, the council, and not the city.
Most definitely, never would.
All right, thank you. Any other council member on special and select?
Mr. President. Oh, I don't want to discuss that. I've got something else. Nothing as big as that.
Okay, well, let me go Councilwoman Wyatt then, and then we'll come back.
I wanted to announce that the Art, Culture, and History Committee will meet on Monday, November 18th at 6 p.m. We will be in the council lounge November 18th, and next Monday, and everyone is welcome. Thank you.
Councilwoman Brown?
Oh, I just wanted to mention, and I'm not sure what the mayor knows about this, but we voted last Tuesday at Tolston Pavilion, and we didn't have any heat in there. I don't know if anybody was aware that we had no heat. Nobody told me. Perhaps we could have looked for another polling place had we known that there was no heat. And the people who worked there were in there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with no heat. And the young man from the park department did what he could do to try to help us. Marcus attempted to help us, but the heaters kept blowing the fuses, so we couldn't, use the machines. So I don't know if that's been resolved yet, but I don't believe it has. But there's no heat over there, and someone should have been kind enough to let me know. I mean, if somebody is just going there for a party, that's fine. You can leave when you get ready. But those people were working there from 6 to 6, and they had to be there. And I just thought that someone should have let us know that there was no heat in the pavilion. And I'm told that NIPSCO's working on something. I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know if it's repaired yet or not. But we didn't have any heat.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, I learned about the lack of heat on the morning of the election.
Okay.
And, but we take full responsibility. NIPSCO changed the transformers. And in order to get Tolston back up and running, they have to do certain inspections that have not been done even now. We are working with them to make sure that they get over there along with the building commissioners so that we can get the heat restored. But you should have known so that you could have come up with an alternative. But there's just no excuse for that.
Nobody told me.
Anyone else special and select? There will be a citywide block club meet and greet Saturday, November the 23rd, promptly at 11 a.m. at the Library and Cultural Center right here on 5th Avenue, 22 West 5th Avenue here in Gary. They're asking for a council representative to be there. So if anyone is available that day, council member, if you can let me know, if I can let Ms. Morris know that you would be there to represent the council. They would like someone to be there to represent the council on the 23rd that day. At 11 a.m. Also, the cleanup committee meeting that was scheduled for this Thursday is going to be rescheduled to December 5th at 5:30 p.m. That'll be our last cleanup meeting for the year. And I'm asking all that can come out to that meeting. Also, this past Saturday, we had a we had the smoke alarms being installed inside the first district in the Etna area that were done by our fire department and also by the American Red Cross. We was able, the last number I had received, that we went inside 69 homes and we installed at least 150 smoke alarm inside those homes there. A lot of those homes didn't have smoke detectors, or some of the ones they had was not working smoke detectors. So we made a big impact in that effort there. I was happy that so many volunteers came out to participate. A lot was not from my area, but they came out to participate. Special thanks to our Gary Fire Department, who came out in a great number and assisted. It was good just to be out with you all. Also, Miss Love from ARP, the group out in the Etna area, that came out with her group also to help make sure that we got those smoke detectors installed inside those homes. It was a young lady that came. She was a little fearful about coming to Gary because what she had heard, and her mother told her about how she works in Gary all the time. And this young lady went out for her first time in Gary, and she was surprised that the stereotype that she used to hear about Gary was not so. And she continued to go out throughout the homes, and she enjoyed herself so much. She went out on several different missions as we were going out to install the smoke detectors at the same time. So just want to tell people, what you hear or what you see on TV is not really true. And she definitely said she's going back to take that report back to her classmates at the same time, that Gary is a nice place. She got a chance to see people working on their home, doing a lot of different things. The weather was cold that morning, but it turned out to be pretty nice that evening. So we thank everyone that came out and participated in that event. We've been having quite a few homicides inside of our community. From the last time we met council members up until now, we have had over 10 homicides inside our community. That's striking from pretty much every part of the city here. One that really stands out to me, and all of them do, but this one here was close to me because I grew up in the church that he was a part of. Philip Hearn. I attended his services, both services that he had. I attended them, and his daughter and my daughter went to the prom together. And just like yesterday, we was all standing outside and we watching our daughters get ready to go off to the prom. And not 6 months later, this man is now laying in his final resting place. It just saddens me that the call that we had to receive the day that he was murdered, just doing his job inside the city of Gary, delivering pizza, a noble job, delivering pizza, just a man that wants to help people. And the robbers made off with nothing, but they took his life at the same time. You know, it's just heartbreaking just to see a man leave this earth that way and leave his wife and leave his 4 daughters, who they had such a close bond. As you heard them at the funeral talk about the laughter and the joy that they had with their father. And as they're coming up on the holidays, they don't have their father. But, you know, something has to be done about this. This person that did this continues to sit in their home and nothing is bothering them. They continue to go on throughout their day. And they attempted to rob someone and made off with nothing, not a dime. But they took a whole lot from this man. They took his life. So I just want to reflect on that. I'm preparing a resolution for our next council meeting. I want to do something, and I'll be talking to the council members at the same time, because this is not about me. It's about all of us coming together and just saying enough is enough as a council, and for us to take a stand as a body, agreeing together. At this time, I will go to council pending ordinance and resolution on third and final.
CPO 2019-62, an ordinance of the City of Gary establishing a procedure for the sale of the book Gary, A Pictorial History, sponsored by Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman of the 1st District.
Mr. President, I move the passage of CPO 2019-62 on third and final reading.
Councilwoman Brown, I believe there's a technicality with this ordinance there. and it's been asked by the controller if we would defer this.
I'm sorry.
The controller is asking that we would defer this. There's a technicality with this ordinance to our next meeting.
Oh, we need to defer this?
Yes,
Okay.
to our next council meeting.
Mr. President, I move the CPO 2019-62 be deferred.
Second.
Been moving properly second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Prothrow,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
Vote of 8-0, CPO 2019-62 has been deferred to our next council meeting.
CPO 2019-63, an ordinance appropriating 2019 budgets for the operating expenses and salaries of grant and special revenue funds for ambulance non-reverting of the city of Gary for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2019, ended December 31st, 2019. Sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller.
Mr. President, I move for passage of CPO 2019-63 on third and final reading.
Second.
Moving properly second. Overview at this time.
Mr. President and members of the council, this is an ordinance that allows for the transfer of dollars from Fund 224 to the fire department for essential purposes in the fire department. Specifically, they are requesting $60,000 that would allow them to pay for gasoline, $5,000 for medical supplies such as medical oxygen, CPAPs, exam gloves, defibrillation pads, aspirin masks, tourniquets, and things of that nature that are utilized in the ambulances. Also $25,000 for other materials, which would include uniforms, computer hardware, office equipment, printers, tools, and paint. All of these funds would be used to sustain the department through the end of the year.
There are questions, council members? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight is set aside for public portion. Anyone like to speak for or against CPO 2019-63? You have 3 minutes. Seeing none, public portion is closed. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Prothrow,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
Vote of 8-0, CPO 2019-63 has passed on third and final, so ordered.
Mr. President, is pending orders and resolutions on third and final.
Council pending ordinance and resolution on second reading.
CPO 2019-64, an ordinance establishing a new fund and department for Lake County Fetal Infant Mortality Review Grant, sponsored by Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, City of Gary, Angela Hayes, City Controller, Reese Radney, Northwest Healthy Start.
Mr. President, I move for passage of CPO 2019-64 on second reading. Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, November 19th at 5:30 p.m. A public hearing. I don't know. Pardon? Finance Committee meeting on November 19th, and a public hearing on December,
It'll be December
December 3rd.
3rd.
I'm sorry, December 3rd.
Councilman, okay.
So we just gonna have the finance meeting just before the council meeting?
Oh, really?
This Thursday?
Oh,
I'm not playing with y'all all week.
I don't know, it doesn't matter to me. Okay.
No, nothing's urgent.
That meeting is fine. The way you put it is fine.
That's fine.
December 3rd.
Yes. So you do it the same day. You're gonna do it at 5:30 then, right?
Right.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second right here.
Okay, been moving properly second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell, Councilman Proto,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Board.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
Vote of 8-0. CPO 2019-64 is moved to the Finance Committee November the 19th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing December the 3rd at 6 p.m.
CPO 2019-65, an ordinance establishing a community benefits agreement, sponsored by Councilwoman Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman of the 1st District.
Mr. President, I move for passage of CPO 2019-65 on second reading. Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, November 19th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing on December 3rd.
Second.
Moving properly second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Proto,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Board.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
Vote of 8-0. CPO 2019-65 is moved to the Finance Committee. Finance meeting will be November 9th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing December 3rd at 6 p.m. November 19th, I'm sorry, 19th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing December 3rd at 6 p.m.
CPR 2019-09, a resolution by the Gary Common Council in regard to the Gary Community School Corporation, sponsored by Rebecca Sparks Wade, council member of the Gary Common Council.
Mr. President, I move that CPR 2019-69 be, I move for passage of CPR 2019-69 on second reading. Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, November 19th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing on December 3rd.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Caldwell. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Proto,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sparks Wade,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wyatt,
Yes.
and President Board.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
Vote of 8-0. CPR 2019-09 is moved to the Finance Committee. Finance meeting is November 19th at 5:30 p.m. and a public hearing December 3rd at 6 p.m.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes.
The CPO 2019-62 that we deferred, are we moving that to the Finance Committee meeting on the 19th?
No,
Or-
there'll still be a council meeting that day at 6 p.m. and we'll take on that matter during that council
Fine.
meeting. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President, depending on the resolutions on second reading.
Right. This time we will have the mayor's report.
Good evening again. Wanted to first start by adding my condolences relative to Ms. Betty Hearns and her family in the tragic passing of Mr. Philip Hearn, and to all of the victims of homicide that have occurred. Mr. President, I agree with you. It has been just an egregious increase. And, you know, there are some that try to talk about it being gang-related, but we've had a couple of domestic instances which are cause for concern, because there's not a whole lot you can really do to prevent those, but still, it's a loss just the same. I also want to offer my condolences to Ionita Bird and Janet Wallace, two city employees in the passing of their father, Arthur Lee Bird, to the family of Anthony Gaines, Miss Antoinette Gaines, and family, and of course that's the Holmes family. Mr. Gaines was a well-known musician in the area, and to the family of Burl Turner, who will be funeralized this coming Friday, a longtime security guard at Love Feast Church of God in Christ, and also someone who worked with Diane Allen as well. I want to indicate that the snow plan is in full effect, and it's November, but it's still in effect because we've gotten snow. And I want to assure people that we have salt, we have equipment, and we have personnel who are willing to work. There was an incredible amount of slick streets because of the reduction in the temperature so quickly. So if you would utilize the 311 process, either calling 881-1311 or using the app on the website, so that in the event that that ice is freezing over or the melting is freezing over, because we've seen that happen quite a bit, please let us know. Also, it was brought to our attention late yesterday that there was a city vehicle plowing on private property. It is a personnel matter that we have handled expeditiously, and rest assured we take that seriously. And the good news is that GPS allowed us to isolate that right away. But we are appreciative of the citizen who made us aware. There is construction going on in City Hall, and because of that construction, finance has temporarily moved to the 3rd floor. The law department is temporarily housed at 504 Broadway, human resources to the Genesis Center, and the council employees on the 1st floor are in the 2nd floor office. And again, a lot of that movement is attributable to two things. One is the fact that we are moving everyone, or as many people as we can, as City Hall will hold, to 839 Broadway, and the second is to facilitate the creation of the one-stop shop. During renovation, the east and west doors have been closed, and visitors will either have to use the south doors on the parking lot or enter through the basement from Broadway. Those visiting the building departments are now able to obtain permits and licenses, utility releases, schedule inspections, handles code violations, register rental properties, obtain parking signs, and make payments at the same location. And that's sort of in practice, if you will, for the one-stop shop. We are finishing the Lake Street improvements. There will be an unveiling, if you will, and sort of talking about the next steps sometime in late December, late November, early December. We were very regretful with the closing of the Miller Bakery, and would just indicate that there are a number of factors that go into a decision to close a business, and would not necessarily attribute that solely to Lake Street. The state disparity study meetings were held today, and that is to determine what is required and what would be optimal in ensuring that minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses are in fact able to do state contracts. And so they are doing a tour, and of course the Northwest Indiana meeting was held here both at 11:30 and 5:30 at Art House, and of course that's why we were unable to go to Art House today. National Recycling Week is this week. If you don't have your bins, this is the perfect time to get one. And on Friday from 11 to 3, we will have a I don't want to call it a festival, but it will certainly be a gathering at City Hall to allow people to pick up recycled bins, educational materials, and also to win prizes. Our Thanksgiving giveaway and census kickoff will be on Monday, November 25th. It's going to be here at the Genesis Center at 5 o'clock. And not only will we be giving away Thanksgiving baskets as we've done in the past, but this is our opportunity to begin the countdown to the census next year. Want to thank those who participated in the Fall Blight Buster on October 19th, as well as the Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Homicide Victim Memorial on October 29th on Tuesday evening. And this was co-sponsored by the Commission for Women and Gary for Life. Also, our annual Trunk or Treat, I just want to commend the staff, thank everybody, the council, and all of the public who participated in the Harvest Festival on October 31st at the Hudson Campbell. Because of the weather, we pivoted very quickly. It was inside, and no child was deprived on one of the kids' favorite days of the year. There was a City of Gary Census Job Fair on November 6th at the Goodwill Career Center. Just want to remember that the census is taking applications for workers. There's also a free union construction seminar that was held on November 6th with the Indiana plan, because we do anticipate a number of jobs that will come as a result of a lot of the development that is taking place, particularly with the new casino development. The Bear Brand ribbon cutting was held on November 7th at the Old Stocking Factory, and what's going to ultimately happen is that it will clear contaminants from the soil and allow for planting and allow for the creation of public space there. Also, the Gary Envision Center hosted a resource fair on Friday, November 8th. I was also had an opportunity to thank Secretary Carson for establishing an Envision Center here, in that I participated on the Veterans Day program at HUD last Thursday. The Youth Services Bureau after-school program is up and running. It is being held in 3 locations: the Paul Douglas Center at the Indiana Dunes National Park, the Christ United Methodist Church, 201 West Ridge, Hudson Campbell Sports and Fitness Center. There is homework assistance, free meals and snacks, as well as other support for our young people, and that is from 3 to 6 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently planning in December a groundbreaking for the new Spectacle Entertainment site with Hard Rock, and on December 20th, there will be an open house at both City Hall and the Hudson Campbell to reveal some new innovations there. And we're working to schedule a Howe Park Pavilion open house or ribbon cutting for the first phase of the Howe Park completion. Also, on December 20th will be the green roof that people will have an opportunity to look at. They won't get a chance to go out on the roof at City Hall, but we are going to make it available for people to see. But the good news is that the roof has stopped leaking at City Hall. So that concludes my report. I'm sorry, there are some additional reports from the Public Works Department. There is additional work that's going to be done, and this is something I forgot to mention when we were talking about the closures because of the inconvenience that we acknowledge in the closures. 40th Avenue from Broadway to Georgia, 43rd from Broadway to Georgia, Broadway to Mississippi, and Hay Street from 4th to 21st will be done weather permitting. I think we were all kind of caught a little off guard, but we are attempting to salvage the as much as we can of this year to get those things completed. And one addition is Ralston Street between 25th and 23rd Avenue. There is also the signal replacement that continues, and that is phase 1. And the intersections that still require work are Ridge and Harrison, Ridge in Georgia, Ridge in 37th, Martin Luther King. Ridge in Georgia is waiting on the shipment of a new controller. Harrison Street is now open, so that's good news. The redevelopment projects, Buffington Harbor, they are going to stop for the winter shortly, and they will then complete it during the first phase of first quarter of next year, probably by June of next year to be safe. The same is the completion of the airport to Klein Road, Klein Avenue, which would in fact complete all of the work on Airport Road, I believe, is scheduled to be complete November 24th. That might have been pushed back a little because of the fact that we have a challenge with the weather, and that actually completes my report, Mr. President.
Any questions, council members? Mayor? Thank you, Mayor. I know the snow did come down pretty fast, and the weather changed from snow, rain, snow, and wind, and cold dropped in, and we have had some major conditions. But I don't know if the council will have it, but I'll make sure all council have a copy of the City of Gary 2019 and 2020 snow plan, so that way all council members know what the plan is on removing snow and ice at the same time. I'll make sure everyone has a copy of that. Also, I just want to make the announcement, but very soon I would like to call a meeting for hospital forum. I know it's one of our ad hoc committees there, but there are some things that have been brought to my attention that we need to address seriously concerning our hospital inside our city. Our census are going to be very important to a lot of different aspects inside our city on how services are delivered throughout our city. And the hospital is one of the ones that's on the top of the radar that I feel that we all should pay close attention to it. It wasn't just by a coincidence that they were looking to merge our hospital. There was some strong reasoning behind that. And just by some new information I would just brief last week on, I think it's important that we have some conversation right now about our hospital. At this time, we have a few speakers for tonight. Mr. Nowacki will be our first speaker. Is there Paul Elkins in the house? Okay, I believe that was with the other group. Okay. Mr. Nowacki.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jim Nowacki. I live in the 2nd District. I had the opportunity to attend a meeting at the Gary Redevelopment Commission last week. And at the meeting, item discussed was the Chicago plan, or the Gary plan, rather. This is the 10-year plan that's created periodically. About 600 pages. This document is about this thick. What was curious about it was they started the meeting by awarding the consultant another $65,000. Although the plan's already done, they wanted to give him an extra kicker. Now that the plan's all done, they want to give him an extra kicker, $65,000. And ostensibly, it's to get the plan passed, City Council. And what was interesting was they had presented to the board, because it has to be passed by the plan committee, it has to be passed by the redevelopment commission, and then it comes to the council. And what was interesting was they had supplied a 6-page synopsis of the 600-page plan, because nobody's going to read a 600. As a matter of fact, they didn't even provide the plan to the Plan Commission. They didn't even provide the plan to the Redevelopment Commission. They provided the little 6-page synopsis at the beginning of the meeting. So they had all of 30 minutes to peruse this 6-page document. Meanwhile, this plan has cost $2 million, paid to the consultants. It's going to come before the council. I really don't want to burden you to request that you read a 600-page document. First of all, I don't want to ask that, but second of all, you're not going to do it. But you're going to pass it, just like the Plan Commission passed it without reading it, without seeing it. Just like the redevelopment passed it without reading it, without seeing it, and gave the guy another $65,000. That's how, now that's really a sweet deal. And saved all those committee members the burden of having even to look at this 600-page document. So, council members, don't worry. No one expects you to read it. No one expects you even to see it. All we expect from you is to take 30 minutes, read the 6-page synopsis of it, and then pass it. And this will be the guiding document for the city for the next 10 years. So when railroads want to close right-of-ways without any public, that's going to be done. When the airport wants to waste money, this is the document for the next 10 years. Don't bother reading it, just pass it. Thank you.
There are Carl Mutes, Carlos, Mr. Allen, Mr. Quabina, you be next, Mr. Allen. Then I have a Matthews, the last speaker.
Good evening, council. Good evening, council. If I'm not loud enough, you have to excuse me. I'm a little bit under the weather. I wanted to address a public policy issue. And for those of us not aware, public policy is often under the principles in which social laws are based. The principle that we try to do things that avoid injury to the public good, despite the legality of those things. What I wanted to talk about tonight was basically the 14th Amendment, and I'm going to keep it in simple terms. Basically, the 14th Amendment requires us to make sure everyone has equal process rights and equal rights under the law, particularly state laws and things like that. And what made me bring this to the council's attention, I don't know if you all are aware, and I'm going to take it, I know some of you are, but I won't take it for granted that you are. We all know about my arm wrestling match about 624 Broadway. I ordered an appraisal on my building, and the appraiser told me that he had appraised the building already. And I asked him, no, you didn't appraise the building. You couldn't have been here. I'm standing in the building now, and I've never met you. And he explained that the name on the building was changed to the Geary Housing Authority's name without any litigation, court order, no transferring document, no deed, anything. I have no problem losing my wrestling match. I'm going to say that now. I have no problem losing my wrestling match in eminent domain. If a formal eminent domain is filed, I go to court, I tell my sob story, and the judge order appraisal, and I get a check and get the hell out of the way, I'm fine with that. But we don't want, as a matter of public policy, non-elected officials doing things as if they're a legislative body in our town. And I'll make this simple for the lay citizens that's listening. When you vote for someone, you're empowering them to primarily tax, establish fees, fines, collect the 3 said, and maybe make laws and ordinances that affect our lives. The GHA is the commission that voted to seize my property and simply change the name is comprised of other citizens. None of them we vote for. They should not have the power to seize private property, whether it's right or wrong. They should not have the power to do that. That's the equivalent of me being a sheriff or a judge, and I give my nephew my badge and say, hey, go out and write parking tickets today. If you guys did that, despite all our wrestling, I can live with that. I vote for you. I don't vote for Mr. Marsh. So we simply disagree, and I have an appeal process in which I can appeal to my elected official. I have no appeal process to private citizens voting to seize my property. There's no appeal for that, because there's no such procedure for that. And as a matter of public policy, I would ask the city council to not allow that to be done in their town. Not the seizure of property, but done by someone other than you, or someone authorized to do that. This is a very important issue. Forget these nations. This is for anyone that's a citizen of our town. Thank you.
Good evening, council audience. My name is Kaya Matthews. I am the coach and athletic director at Roosevelt High School. I am presently coaching girls basketball at this time. I am presently coaching girls basketball at Roosevelt High School. As you guys know, it has been a challenging year for us. We're not in our building. We're at the Gary Career Center. I have to find a location for us to practice, which right now we're utilizing the YWCA, which was funded by the Panther Takeover, and we will be playing our games at the Boys and Girls Club, which that funding is still yet to be seen. However, we have dates for that. My girls program, a little history about myself. I graduated from Roosevelt in 1978. I was a part of the first girls basketball team there when Title IX was implemented, where equal opportunity was the same for girls as boys, giving us an opportunity to participate in sports. And to be a part of this program 41 years later, and the mayor was also a part of that team, and to see that I am leading this ship right now, and for us not to have proper shoes, uniforms, a place to practice, and equipment to use, it's kind of hard. So I'm asking this council to reach out, whatever I need to give you guys to help with some funding for at least tennis shoes, jogging suits, socks, whatever it is that I can get for the program. And we also happen to pay a fee to the Boys and Girls Club, where we're utilizing that for our home games at this time. So I'm not a beggar, because I've always, earned and worked for everything. Right now, we're kind of struggling right now with some things at Roosevelt, and it's a little emotional for me. So if you guys can help us out, help out the program. Appreciate you for your time. Thank you.
Mr. Razuli, you're next. I will ask Mr. Williams if he can look at possibly, I know he sits on the board here for the Genesis Center, if he can look at possibly using this space here at the Genesis Center. I talk a well, we'll talk out offline, but utilizing this facility here, I often say this facility sits here, and we continue to pay utilities and things of that nature, and it's very underutilized. And for a situation like this, where we have the courts and we should have a floor for it, this should be a simple fix here for anyone, for after-school programs or just activity for our kids, where we can open up this facility. I talked about we basically really only fill up this place maybe twice. When someone big come in town, we may use the arena, and when IUN uses the arena also. And none of that, it sits, as you see, just vacant. But this can be an easy fix where it can be used for other purposes. Mr. Razuli.
Yeah, first of all, apologize for those who are walking in front of us trying to get here as soon as possible. But council and community, also live in the east side of the 6th District. When I moved here in 91, that's where I moved to. Been there ever since. And every time I go south of the city, I pretty much take Kentucky. So that was kind of disappointing that, it shut down. And who does that? Why they did it? Seems like it was a money thing or something, because we were getting money from them. But not just the business. I understand the mechanical company, but the citizens, the people. I mean, that's a big gap between Broadway. I mean, just east of Broadway, all you have is Malcolm X Street. Hopefully, what will soon be Malcolm X Street, but Georgia Street, that you can cross over that railroad track. I mean, I'm glad you all going to be relooking at that. So that's something that's good. Also in Glen Park, been a lot of work going on lately. The curbs on Ridge Road, the paving on Ridge Road. The mayor mentioned a couple other roads. And again, and we do this every year. And I know it's early winter time now. It seems like we're deep in the winter. But we got to work in our community. we wouldn't have to allow railroad companies to be coming in and closing down our streets where our people have to get through. We wouldn't have to worry about where our children should be playing basketball at and the schools closing and things like that if we had this tax money from people who work in our community. And I always tell the story about the guy in Portage. It was either Portage or Chesterton when they were doing all that development out Route 6. And he stopped the project because there wasn't so many people from his community working. And the contractor said, well, we can't find the people. He said, well, that work stops until you find them. You know they found them because they needed that money. They wanted that money. So we need to be, like, serious about that here because if you don't work, you don't eat. And our community is suffering. Brother, you mentioned the issues with this violence. And we know a lot of the violence is economic. We know a lot of it is, but we got to work, And there's plenty of work to be done in this city. We all know it. We all see it. I appreciate what you all did. We appreciate what you all did by passing that that resolution a couple years ago on this music. Because when we look at this violence, it's promoted in the music. Since we've been here for a couple hours tonight, the 2 radio stations that you all helped us condemn and check in the Chicago area are playing music constantly. Constantly dropping N-bombs on us, disrespecting our women, and telling us to shoot and kill each other. They haven't stopped. They haven't stopped. New York has that resolution now. We're hoping they will pass it. But we just have to do more about this. Not just, you all, but the community. It's just so sad that every time our children turn the radio on, they're being told to shoot and kill each other. So we need help with that too. But I appreciate the council for this time to speak. Just want to get a few things off our chest. But again, we really need to work in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take this time to acknowledge our newly elected members that will be joining this body in 2020. William Godwin of the 1st District, Dwight Williams of the 6th District, and Cozy Witherspoon of the 2nd District. Just want to say congratulations to you all. Looking forward to your service on the City Council in 2020. Mr. Nowacki talked about the document for the city plan. It is a very lengthy document. I was looking to have the document here before, but because it's so thick, it's taken a lot to get those copies ready for the council at the same time. So I'm looking at the next councilman so we can have them early enough to go through them because it does take a good while to go through those documents there. Very thick.
Mr. President, good evening. I had one question. Councilwoman Brown brought up the issue about no heat Tuesday on Election Day.
Yes.
Certainly want to thank people for coming out to vote, and we appreciate the support we received. But what are we doing about warming centers with the temperature like it is right now? We know that it's an unexpected cold front, but we have to start preparing for these things. So is there someone that can answer a question without saying I'm not sure?
Ms. LeBroy is here. Well, our chief of staff is here also, and Ms. Burns. Oh, we got several people here. Okay.
I would like, Mr. President, I'd like to find addresses,
very important,
locations, times, because we have seniors as well as just people in general who need to be in a safe place when it's this cold. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good evening, President, members of the council. Thank you, Councilman Brown, for the question. Actually, today, we actually confirmed our warming centers. We have 3 this year, and they are Calumet Township Center on 41st Avenue, which is, of course, open on an as-needed basis. We also have Oak Street Health that has been a partner with us for a number of years now at 49th and Broadway. And in addition, we have Hawkins, what's the other one? Yeah, Brothers Keeper at 2120 Broadway. We had last year also opened up City Hall and some of our fire stations on an as-needed basis as a temporary measure. And if there indeed is a need to house a number of people, we have those as transitional sites. And then we will utilize our pavilions, providing they have heat, to house anyone that we would need overnight. But Calumet Township Trustee's Office is working with us to have that facility open as well on a 24-hour basis.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brown?
Are we putting this on the website? Are we notifying the general public? Are we talking to the radio stations? I mean, how are people being notified about these women's centers?
Well, absolutely. As I mentioned just today,
Right.
the press release, so it has been sent out to the media.
Okay.
And the radio station is one of them.
Okay.
We will utilize any form of our own governmental channels as well. Our schools will be notified. Just every measure, of course, social media. So, yes.
So, Mr. President, one more thing, then I'll leave it alone. She mentioned the possibility of the pavilions. Do we know how many pavilions we might even have available that actually have heat in them at this time? Parks Department?
Well, I can't answer that, but our Parks Department is in on our team, and we, again, as needed, we're not sure whether they will be in every district or if we will have one in just a bigger one to house a certain number of people. But on an as-needed basis, that's how we're looking at our pavilions right now.
One of the reasons that, and I want to speak to this,
Thank you,
because
Chief.
the police department is also assisting with this effort. When our officers encounter persons who are out of doors or even in their homes without the proper heat, we take them to a transitional facility to take them to one of the 3 long-term or more facilitated places that they said. Pavilions are fine, fire departments are fine. They're not set up to house people. You need bedding, you need bathrooms, you need a separation for women and children, you need food, and you need personnel to work it. So just putting them in a pavilion or a police station has not worked in the past. We need places that are set up with staff that can take care of their long-term needs. And long-term, I mean several days. If they're outside in these temperatures for 3 days, that's a death sentence. So we take them to a pavilion, just put them in there. How are we going to feed them? How are they going to shower? How are they going to use a restroom? So the facilities that they name take care of those long-term needs. We take them to we bring them to the stations, to the fire stations, as a transitional place. When we find out where they're supposed to be through Mrs. Hawk, the Health Department, the Parks Department, then we transport those individuals to that location if they don't have transportation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. There's nothing else, Council Member. I entertain a motion for adjournment. We now adjourn. Have a good night, everyone.